Family, it's good to see you. Just got off work myself. I'm not gonna lie. The road and the weather conditions got your boy a little ripped, a little whooped right now, you feel me? But at the same time, I just couldn't help myself. I really wanted to do another recording tonight. So let's continue on with the talk about accurate thinking. Your mind should be an eternal question mark. Question everything and everyone until you have satisfied yourself to the point to where you know you're dealing with facts. Now do this quietly in your own mind in silence to avoid being known, as a doubting Thomas or someone who just don't have much trust in other people. Blatantly so. Don't come out and question people orally. It's really not going to get you anywhere, but question them silently. And certainly, if you're too outspoken and too oral about your questioning of other people, some people that notice that right there, they'll cover up, kind of hide back a little bit. Then you really wouldn't get the information that you want. Quietly go about seeking information and doing some accurate thinking at the same time. And you will probably come up with the right answer if you go about it like that. Be a good listener, a great listener, but at the same time, also be an accurate thinker as you listen. You know what? That just occurs to me to ask a question. Which is most profitable, do you think? To be a good listener or to be an effective speaker? Well, now I'm going to ask you why. I don't know of any virtue or any other better quality that would help an individual to get along better and smoothly in this world than to be an effective, an enthusiastic, and a very articulate speaker. I just don't know of any other quality that would be better than that to have in an individual. And yet, I would follow that statement immediately by saying that it is far more profitable to anybody to be a good listener, an analytical listener, than it is to be a good speaker. Let your mind be an eternal question mark. Now I don't mean by that you should, become a cynic or a doubting Thomas. I mean that no matter who you're dealing with, deal with them on the basis of thinking accurately in every social relationship that you have. Scratch social, every relationship that you have. You'll get a lot of satisfaction out of that, and you'll be more successful. And if you're very, tactful as you go along and diplomatic, I am sure that you will have a lot more substantial friends than you would by going about, the old method of snap judgment. Mostly your friends, if you're an accurate thinker, mostly your friends will be friends worth having. Believe me on that. Now, your thinking habits are the results of social heredity and physical heredity. Watch both of these sources carefully, but in particular, social heredities. Now, with physical heredity, you got everything that you are physically. Your stature, the color of your eyes and your hair, the texture of your skin, height, tall, small, weight, things of that nature. You are the sum total of all of your ancestors back down through them years of old, further than you could even remember or think. And, in effect, you've inherited a little bit of their good qualities and a little bit of their bad. There's nothing that you can do about that. That's static. That's fixed at birth. But by far, the most of what makes up you, of what you are, is your social heredities. Your social influences, those things that you allowed to come up in your mind, and that you have allowed to influence you, and you have accepted it as a part of your character. That's the important thing. Your conscience was given to you as a guide when all of the sources of knowledge has been exhausted. Be careful to use it as a guide and not as a co-conspirator. When you think about it, in your own life, have you ever met a lot of people, or not even got to be a lot, but have you met someone who uses their conscience as a co-conspirator than rather than using it as a guide? Have you ever met a person like that? In other words, they so sell themselves. They so sell themselves or their conscience on the idea of what they're doing is right, that the conscience eventually falls in line and becomes a co-conspirator. If you sincerely wish to think accurately, there is a price that you must pay for this ability. And that price is something that's not measurable in money. First, you must examine very carefully all of your emotional feelings by submitting them to your sense of reason. That's step number one in accurate thinking. In other words, the things that you like to do best are the things that you should examine most and first to make sure, in other words, if they lead you to the obtainment of some object that you've been going after, that you want that object after you get it. The point I'm making is that the thing that you set your heart upon, be careful about the thing that you set your heart upon, because when you get that thing, it might turn around that you maybe didn't even really want it at all. Now, I can multiply that sentiment with 1,000 different illustrations for, a man who paid too much for what they got. Someone who wanted something so badly and tried to get too much of it. Incidentally, he did get too much of it, but didn't get peace of mind and balancing of their lives along with it. You must curb the habit of expressing opinions. It's not based upon facts or what you believe to be facts. Did you know that you didn't have a right, you or me or anybody else for that matter, did you know you didn't have a right to an opinion about anything, anytime, anywhere, unless it's based upon facts or actual provable facts or what you believe to be facts? I almost take a bet that you wouldn't admit that that's true. I think a lot of people won't admit that that's true. You have no right to have an opinion whatsoever about anything at any time unless it's based upon facts or actual provable facts. Why would you think I would even try to, exacerbate that or say that you don't have a right to it? Like I've said before, it is dangerous. Have you ever went throughout life having the wrong opinion that's not, applied to actual provable facts, and you got a negative result? In that moment, it was dangerous to have such an opinion, and it wasn't based upon facts. I mean, you can do it. You have a right, of course. But I mean to say, I guess you have the responsibility of assuming that what happens to you for expressing opinion that's not based upon facts or what you believe to be facts, you're always going to be dealt with a negative result. You can fool yourself thinking that that's not going to happen that way. And a lot of people go all the way through life by having opinions that have no basis for existence. You see a lot of that in the news cycles that's going on usually during CNN, MSNBC, Fox, everyone gossiping with opinions with no foundation. You must also master the habit of not being influenced by people merely because you like them, or they may have done you a favor, or, they might be related to you. Now, I've experienced in my own life, going the extra mile for the people that you hold close, or, people in passing. You're going to go in the extra mile for individuals. You're going to put a lot of people under obligation to you. And I want you to do that. That's perfectly proper. That's legitimate. To put people under obligations to you by helping people. Nobody can find any fault with that. But be careful. Be careful in being influenced by people just because they have done you a favor. I'm talking now about those people for whom you have gone the extra mile. And you may be in that position sometimes too, where somebody puts you under obligations up to an extent to where, hell, you feel like you don't even want to be put under this obligation. You must form the habit of finding the motive in people who seek some kind of benefit from or through your influence. You must control your emotion of love and your emotion of hate in making decisions for any purpose, because either of these things, especially these two things, can unbalance your thinking habits. No man, no person on earth should make a decision while he or she is angry. You just shouldn't do it. Correcting children, for example, I don't agree with it. It's a bad mistake to discipline children while you're angry, because of course 9 times out of 10 you'll do and say the wrong thing, have a negative impact on a young developing mind, a lot more harm than good. And that applies to a lot of grown-ups too, a lot of adults. Don't get angry and try to make statements while you're mad, because they can come back on you. Eventually it comes back around. You might have to deal with a little bit of injury from that statement. Self-control and self-discipline. We're going to have a good lesson on those two a little bit later on. I might have even already put them up, but you remember? It plays right along with this lesson so far, doesn't it? Because there are a lot of times, if you're going to be an accurate thinker, you got to have a lot of self-discipline. You got to refrain from saying and doing a lot of things that you like to do, that you do on the regular. Bide your time. There's always a time for you to do or say whatever you need to say or get done. Time what you say and do properly. Accurate thinkers do that. They don't just fly off the handle and say things and start their mouths to go off and leave them like some people do. Carefully inspect the listener with every word that they utter, even before they utter it. Don't make any decisions or plans until you have carefully weighed what the effect may be on you and other people. I could think of a lot of things that I could do that would benefit me, but it wouldn't benefit you. I could think of a lot of things, might even injure you, but I wouldn't engage in any of those things, because eventually I would have to pay the price. Because whatever you do to or for another person, you do to or for yourself, it comes back to you, greatly multiplied in kind. That's another thing that comes out of this lesson of accurate thinking, especially when you come very indoctrinated with the thoughts of thinking accurately. You learn not to do anything that you don't want to eventually come back and affect you. Not to think anything, not to say anything, not to do anything that you don't want it to come back to you, and that you're going to have to give countenance to later on in life. You must recognize, before accepting facts and statements of other people, it would be very beneficial to you if, when you hear the statement from the person, that you would ask how they came by these so-called facts. When an individual expresses an opinion, ask, how do they know that their opinion is sound? I don't want an opinion. Personally, I want some facts if I can get them. Then I'll form my own opinion. You give me the facts and I'll put them together in my own way, says the accurate thinker. You must learn to examine with extraordinary care all statements of a derogatory nature made by one person against another, because the very nature of such a statement brands them as being not without bias. And that's me putting it very politely. You must overcome the habit of trying to justify a decision that you have made when that decision that you made turns out to have been unsound. Accurate thinkers just don't do that. They reverse themselves just as quickly as they made the decision, especially, when they find out they're wrong. Alibis and accurate thinking never are friendly bedfellows. Excuses and alibis alibies and accurate thinking are not good bedfellows. I've never seen a person yet that was very definite in creating alibis for his faults and the things that he didn't do that he should have done, things that he did do that he shouldn't have done. In other words, a lot of people have a great stock of them, excuses and alibis. You don't have to give them very much time before they put them together and they get them ready for you and they get to throwing them at you. The good excuses and alibis don't amount to anything unless there's something back of them, something sound that you can depend upon. If you are an accurate thinker, you will never use the term "they say" or "I heard." Accurate thinkers, in repeating statements that they have heard, first identify the source and attempt to establish its dependability. Family, as long as we've been talking so far, it's not a very easy thing to be an accurate thinker. Have you come to that kind of conclusion as I have? This was a lot when I first learned it as well. Quite a little bit that I had to pay, that you have to pay in order to have this ability, but it's worth it. It's worth a try. You know, if you're not an accurate thinker, people are going to take advantage of you. You're not going to get much out of life, or at least as much as you like to. You're not going to be satisfied. You're never going to be a well-balanced person, without accurate thinking. In order to think accurately, you got to have a set of rules to go by. You'll find that back down on through this recording in this lesson, think about it a time or two later on. Study it carefully. Add some notes to it of your own. Starting out to do some thinking about putting it into practice tomorrow morning. Some of these principles that we've talked about tomorrow morning, go over it and think about separating facts from information and then separating the facts themselves into two classes, important and unimportant. Just make those 4 steps alone. This lesson would have very much more justified itself in listening to it, and it'd be well worth 1,000 times more so than if you just clicked over this video. Just say, you know what, maybe next time. Just give it a good listen, and I promise it's gonna work wonders. It's not a game. If it teaches you just to do those simple things, to start separating facts from information, be sure that you're dealing with facts. And then take the facts, after you're sure you're dealing with them, then break them down and throw off all of the unimportant facts that you've been wasting so much time with here before. If there's one thing that people do not like to deal with in this life, it's when one is faced with circumstances and unpleasant situations and defeat. And yet, if I have thought about circumstances properly, and if I have taken inventory of the laws of nature properly, I think it would have been intended. I think it is in this life that we live. It is intended that we go through adversities. We go through defeats in life. We must go through defeats in life. Even that being said, I still say that people do not like defeats. People do not like to have to deal with too many adversities in life. And yet I am compelled to say it once again, that if it had not been through the failures that I have been through in my own life, being knocked down a few times in my younger days, at certain jobs, in school, back when I was doing the college thing and those good times, love situations where, I was let down a time or two. If I wasn't met with those adversities and those failures and defeats in my life, I probably wouldn't be as a responsible adult male as I am. I probably wouldn't be as well off as I am. A strong mind mentality, mind, body, and spirit type situation. I wouldn't be as sturdy, as durable as I've become, because it was out of the opposition, I'm sure, that I was met with in my early days, that, I came up with the strength to be one that takes care of the family solely now. Head of the household type situation. Breadwinner, I probably wouldn't have been this strong and capable as a man if I wasn't hit or put to the grindstone to be sharpened for this adult life that I'm living. I wouldn't have been as respected or responsible on the many jobs that I've had for the years that I sat at those jobs. Yeah, I wouldn't have came out with not as much love that I got from the brethren that I've made through the years, back down through the years, the quality friendships and relationships that I still hold dear. Yet, if I were to go back to the past, I have no doubt with all that being said, that I would make it easier for myself, just the same as you would from here on out. We're all inclined to do that. Find the line of least resistance. Did you know that taking the line of least resistance is what makes all rivers, some men, crooked? Nah, for real, no funny. Yet, it is very common habit for us to do that. We don't want to pay the price of intense effort, no matter what it is, no matter what we're doing. A lot of people like to have the things in life come the easy way. And the mind is like any part of the physical body. It atrophies, it withers away, it comes weak through disuse. When you meet with problems, circumstances, incidents, failure that forces you to do thinking, why, that is probably the greatest thing that could happen to you. Because without a motive, you're not going to do very much thinking anyway. Now, last thing before we wait until the next one, there are 40 major reasons or causes of failure. More than twice the number of causes of failure than there are principles of success. There are 17 principles of success, some combination of which is responsible for all successes in life. But there are more than 40 different causes of failure. And that is not all of them. These are just major causes that we're going to talk about in the next video. Now, self-examination is a very profitable thing for us to do. But sometimes we don't want to indulge in that because, it's too much work to go about it. But it is a very profitable thing to do for us to know ourselves as we are, especially our weaknesses. And in the next video, we're going to go into more detail on those weaknesses and self-examinations and the major causes of failure. But once again, family, without taking up too much more of your time, let me just say I appreciate you for being here. Until the next time.